up to speed, up to speed, up to speed.
Live from the apocalypse. What's Poppy Seed? This is State of the Game. And my name is Dano. I am faced with a conundrum.
Mhm.
Spotify Wrapped came today, and it said people who listen to us on Spotify, who are valuable people, list their third favorite podcast is the Joe Rogan Experience. And I was like, oh my God, am I going to have to stop making fun of the Joe Rogan Experience? I hope not. I hope not. So I don't know. People who listen to this and love the Joe Rogan Experience pretend as if I do too. And you'll have a great time. So we'll move forward. My co-host, who is here every week, when you see video of pro basketball players at these camps and they steal the ball from a 6-year-old and dunk on him.
Mhm.
That's how he is with everyone at Dance Dance Revolution in the arcade. Cannot be stopped.
Really?
Absolutely. No mercy.
No mercy. No mercy. Don't care. Um, so I appreciate you being here after that.
Mhm.
So we today we have someone who has a song that drives me wild. That like it's like one of those songs where like you put it on and your whole friend group goes crazy,
Whoa.
but it's just me. Like it's just um it's Yatta who has put out Palm Wine this year, and MTV is the song that I am discussing here. Um so thank you for being here. Um there's so much to talk about with this album that I've been sitting with for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So I got the advance from Gang.
Oh, yeah.
I'm lucky enough to be on Gang PTP's list. Uh, and I immediately WhatsApped him and was like, I need to talk to this person. This is unbelievable. I'm very lucky to be where I am. So this do you want me to start with my hypothesis about palm wine? My pitch?
It's up to you.
I'm gonna give my pitch right off the bat. To me, palm wine is in a year full of amazing albums, it might be the album that's most connected to feelings.
Hmm.
It's
Mm.
like it's about how what music does to your feelings and taking accountability of where you're putting yourself by listening to the music you're listening to. Like, I need I need to reshape this so I'm not listening to sad music because I'm sad, but I'm listening to heartening music to get me to where I want to go. You know? So it is every song is like a really raw feeling exploration.
Hmm.
Uh that it's an album that honestly takes a lot out of you, but it feels great by the end. That's my pitch. That's my pitch.
Yeah, that's a good pitch. Shark Tank.
Yeah. That's a Shark Tank pitch.
I'm
Uh,
invested.
yeah. I mean, how, and it's, oh, so we start with Wahala is a totally different experience. The album for 2019 before this one, when I listened to it, it felt like a pure exploration of noises and noises leading to other noises, leading to other noises, leading to songs, right? Like as a creative person, you live in this world where you're always doing a certain set of things because you know they'll be successful. So sometimes you sit there like, what if I did that and the most that I could do?
Hmm.
Where would I go? Where would I end up? That's felt like what Wahala was. What talk to me about Wahala, and what we should all know about that.
Um, I made that as a document of the sounds that I played improvisationally for, US, Europe. And so a lot of those songs were written in playing. So I was discovering my palette while performing and almost like DJing my own sound design, because I wouldn't say they were songs, but I would have like samples of like I've always worked with like samples of Skype sounds or samples of WhatsApp sounds. And then I would have beats, and then I would have my own vocal samples. And I would just trigger, and then I would have words written down. And so I would go in with just those tools and just play from impulse.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came to, and that period was from like 2017 to 2019, and 2019 is when I finally was like, okay, what do these things sound like if they are documented? So what I did, yeah, so I didn't approach it as like I'm making a song meant to be listened to. I made it more as I'm making a document of what I've been doing and like the most that it can be, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah. But most of the time, like listening to a new song almost has nervous first date energy.
Mm-hmm.
The song wants to be your favorite song. You're looking for a song that's a favorite song. So it can be a pressurized situation.
Yeah.
Listening to Wahala, you're like, oh, this isn't a song that's trying to impress me at all. This
Yeah.
is
I did not give a fuck.
well summed up. Yes.
I I cared about making sure that I felt like it was expressing what was inside of me, but I was not concerned with how it would feel for the listener.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is important. That's an important, like, if you've never done that, then there's a whole world you've never been to,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, yeah, it's almost like Kay is an international traveler. You know what I mean? He's had crepes in Paris and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, um,
Yeah, where are you now with the background? I,
Oh, this is Rome. This is
okay.
yes.
yeah. So, Kay, it's almost like if you never leave your town, that's fine. Like no one's judging you for that. But
Yeah.
like if if that's not in you, then you can't stay in your town. You got to go. You got to travel. You got to chase the stuff down.
Mm.
And Wahala was definitely chasing it down. So
Mhm.
yeah. Did you go back to Wahala, Kay, or did you focus on one?
No, now I mean you saw me on that. I have to listen to Wahala now. Yeah,
Yeah. It's really interesting, especially contrasted with Palm Wine, which is more about open spaces, you know.
right.
Um, so, but yeah, there's yeah. So what was you 2024 Palm Wine comes out, 2019 Wahala drops. What talk to me about that middle period and what was going on for you?
COVID.
Right, fair. Hmm.
Uh, hmm. Relationship strife.
Hmm.
Hmm. Desert time. I spent time in New Mexico. Uh, and also just practicing production, listening like identifying what my favorite parts of my favorite songs are and
Mhm.
why. And I also did a lot of teaching during that time. So it was like from all, and I was writing about music, writing essays, writing prose, writing poetry about music. So it was teaching production, learning production, writing about music.
Mm.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Because
Like oh, sorry, when you say writing about music, like what in what aspect?
So I started off writing about just thinking about Wahala. It's sort of like a ruptured psyche album. And so Daniel, you started off talking about how music affects people.
Mhm.
So I was thinking about free jazz specifically as a reflection of like ruptured psyches and like, you know, chaos, because
Mhm.
that's what it was associated with in my life. Um, and but it all started with me writing about nature and writing about the music that I associate with nature and the music that I associate with movement. And so, like, people being brought from their own lands to a new land, to me, that's reflected in jazz, pre jazz.
Mhm.
When I was thinking about music that feels like grounding and of the earth, I started to think about like the folk music I grew up listening to. And so a lot of it ended up being like Sufjan Stevens, Iron and Wine, um, you know, white folk bands, and then also, you know, like South African jazz, and just writing about how this music relates to my mental states, how it relates to nature. So yeah, so a few things like I started, I guess I came up with some terms like earth music, so music that is reaching towards some sort of like indigenous feeling. Uh,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and then the white wander is another term that I came up with, which is like this music that sort of like draw in the mouth, never had an issue, you know, yeah, wandering type thing. And then I was like, okay, what's black wander music? Uh,
Mm.
so that's kind of what I came into this with, asking myself, what is the music that I could wander to? But it got a lot heavier than I expected.
Yeah, that's interesting. The like the white wandering music of like the rambling stuff, the like uh Willie Nelson redheaded strangers kind of situation. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And just thinking about like collaborations through time with African musicians and like more mm, I guess the word now would be liberal musicians, but like Paul Simon, you know, who else is in that lineage? You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. So African music connecting to American music and white music specifically. There's this. I'd love to get your take on this. Right? Just this is stuff. My friends are all nerds, music nerds, and this is stuff we argue about or discuss. So there's a lot of pushback on Graceland, right? And just the utilization of apartheid musicians without crediting them. And I believe Los Lobos kind of kicked it off.
Oh my gosh, that's how I start this essay that I wrote.
See, I know things. So
Did you read the essay?
no, I did not. I was maybe I read an essay. I don't know. Um, I read an essay. It may have been your essay, but Los Lobos had a whole thing where they were like, because what he would do is go in and just jam with people and be like, "Hey, why don't you kick a riff and we'll?" It's like, and then he would not credit them, and Los Lobos was like, "No, we're not giving you our riff. Like, get out of here,"
Yeah.
because they knew the business.
Right.
So on that one side, you say that is shady. On the other side, he did bring those musicians on tour. He
Right.
did he did make them names. We know those names because of some of that work, right? Me, my generation in the 80s, as a little kid, you know, I didn't necessarily know South African, acoustic stuff, but I knew Graceland, and so it changed things, and it allowed Spike Lee to do that whole South African kind of vocal group PBS special.
Mhm.
So there's positives and negatives on that. And so one of my friends kicked an idea. He said, "Look, yes, he didn't give them the credits, but Talking Heads was doing Fela Kuti too. And they weren't giving him credit either."
I mean, I think my investigations were what can I find out if I suspend the desire to say that's bad? Because I just think that there's a lot of richness in investigating why people collaborate,
Mhm.
what they get out of it, whether that's in relationships, whether that's in friendships, whether that's in culturally. So, and I also think it's funny. Like I think, when people talk about appropriation, it sort of stops things short.
Right, right,
There's no room for curiosity or even giving the collaborators agency to say, "Hey, how did you feel? What would you have wanted? Would you have wanted money? Would you have wanted this opportunity?" It's, we don't know.
right,
We and it's different for everybody. I think depending on where a black person is from, the stakes are different. And so I find it important to allow there to be some sort of questioning and nuance and not just slap the "that's fucked up" sticker on it.
right, right, right.
That's not to give people permission. Like, I don't want anyone running away feeling deeply empowered in any way, but just like, let's slow it down enough to see what was really going on.
Right.
I do think at certain moments, slapping the appropriation on a collaboration can take away the agency of the less privileged person.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, the comparison I would have with the appropriation stop conversation thing is the problem with the way white people deal with being called racist, right? Like, it, if a black person comes up to a white person and said, "That's what you said was racist," oftentimes they care about them enough to have that conversation. And it's supposed to be the start of a conversation, right? You ask you ask me what was racist, what did I miss, and we talk, right? But oftentimes it is, "Oh my God, not me, that's terrible, run away," right? Um, and the appropriation conversation seems like it's in a similar bucket.
Yeah. And I think I mean, you know, I'm still thinking through it. So no conclusions, just questions.
Mm,
But that's the type of stuff I was writing about.
That's awesome. And that's where
yeah.
I am. Like, I still listen to Graceland, still listen to Fela Kuti, Talking Heads, still listen to all of it. Um, and I still think about these things sometimes while I'm listening to it. Um, and having that conversation going is probably pretty good. Like to keep that context in mind.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, that's I'm glad. Thank you for weighing in on it. So palm wine is cool and has like a lot of genres on it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of genres on it. How Kay, how would you do you have a how many did you identify different forms of music on palm wine?
Oh, I mean, I felt like every track was something different. It
Ooh.
was to go back. She used a word that was very interesting. Chaos. Very, and that's because I was trying to think of a word to describe the album, but I couldn't think. But when you got it when you mentioned chaos, that resonated with me because it's a very chaotic album,
Yeah.
but it's like not chaos because I feel like sometimes chaos has like a negative connotation, but it's chaotic in like a unique way that I'm still trying to like process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same.
Interesting. I mean, can I make a weird comparison, Kay?
Go ahead.
So I've always been a big Tupac person. Always enjoyed Tupac. And hip hop heads sometimes do not. And the argument back in the day was that this is a contradiction machine, right? It's a hypocritical person. And every Tupac song has such extreme emotion in it
Hmm.
that when the songs contrasted each other, which they often did, um, it felt even more real to me because that's
Yeah.
how life works. When you go from highs to lows, you go from these extremes, and some people are wired in a way as to where they're always going to flow to the highest end of the emotional stakes,
Yeah.
whether it's positive or negative, right? Whether it's whatever it is, they're going to always be charting on the top of that chart.
Hmm.
And and it's hard on the people around them, but it's hard on the people that do it. It's not an easy way to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to me, to tie into that chaos, like it's fascinating because I think in terms of albums and works of art, like there's a fine line between like chaos and randomness. And
Mm,
like there are a lot of projects that, have different elements to them, but they come off kind of random,
yep.
you know. But this project has, and I'd like Yada to kind of speak about that. Like, how do you like this project has like a lot of elements to it, but it doesn't seem random. It just seems chaotic.
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. Like the artistic use of contrast versus we threw this together and it's not working together.
Yeah.
Like, how do you differentiate what is missing from one that is present in the other?
Well, it took a lot of time. Um, I probably cut out 12 tracks. And there was just a lot of editing. Um, and for me, it's about narrative arc, flow, tension, release, um, story. Not that it's like, and then this happened, and then this happened, but creating a new world where all sorts of things can happen. But because it's in the same world, it has its own rules.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think there are songs that had I left them on, they maybe would have felt more random because they didn't have the same rules. And I think some of the same rules came from like some of the sound design. Like they're like in the intricacies, there are little moments that maybe don't register fully that are repeated so that your mind has a familiarity, even though it's a totally different song. So like there's a lot of kicks that are used throughout because it's my favorite sound of a kick. There's a lot of water drops because I love the sound of water drops. Um, so maybe that's why just creating a world and making sure that I never wanted to bring something in just to bring it in. If I was making a new song, I wanted to think, oh, is there a bass that I used in another song? Because knowing that things were so disparate, anything that I could do to have some sort of connection between the songs, I would do rather than like reaching outside of the world.
Wow.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And honestly, it's weird, but the answer is always time. The answer is always time. Like without time, you don't suss out the story of what you're doing. You don't find the tension and the flow and the release. You don't pinpoint your favorite kick and your favorite drums and like it's it's time in the end, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't even fully matter to me if you can identify the repeated kick. It's just for me. It's like, is this a world that I recognize because I built it with time?
Right.
Um,
Yeah, and the more you can tweak it to be more you, to be more exciting for you, the more of your genuine energy will go into it.
yeah,
And yeah,
I definitely frustrated the person. Well, I won't speak for him, but I think I'm not the easiest person to mix with.
oh, okay, okay, okay. Mm.
I'm 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 I'll listen and I take my time, but I don't compromise really on that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And there's so and it but it time is a slippery thing because there's some projects that you can dump all your time into, they're not going to get any better or worse. They are what they are. But
Yeah.
then there's something magical going on, and if you make yourself stay there, it'll get better, seismically better.
Yeah. And it is not fun to be in a process for a long time
Right.
because you're watching people, especially in the music industry. I mean, I in during the Wahala time, I did not think of myself as music industry. I don't know where I lie with that now, but I have more curiosity about it because I listen to music that comes from that space.
Right.
Um, but it's not fun to wait.
No, not at all. Not at
It
all.
it's horrible.
Yes, yeah. Because you can't tell everybody, you can't show everybody. You've got to sit on it. And so yeah, even the last week, Kay, we talked to Nappy Nina and Swarvy just released an incredible album. Nothing is my favorite thing, and it was originally an EP. They passed it in, and the label was like, "You should make this an album. They're like, oh, come on, what are you talking about? And the additional stuff they did is some of the best stuff on the
That's
project. The album is incredible. So I was like, man, you imagine, if you just stuck with it, you wouldn't have this. Like,
right.
yeah,
Beautiful. I have to listen. I haven't gotten to listen yet.
it's beautiful. So, but yeah, that's that. And it's like that over and over again. But having people with the right ear to let you know this is worth doing more with.
Hmm.
And it's kind of the same in all aspects of it. Like I'm a short story writer. I was writing short story and I showed my wife and she was like, "You got to do more with this.
Hmm.
This is a novel." And I had never written a novel. And I was like, "Okay." And I did it and it was great. And so having somebody who can park themselves in front of you and go, "This this is
Go.
not this is not." Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's like a big gift to have someone like that.
Right.
Um, I ran up against, it's done, let it go. And I was like, no. And it's a fine line because it's like, is it perfectionism or is it seeing a vision through?
Was there a moment when it when you were just like, okay, it's done? Like, what was that moment like when you determined that it was done?
It was coming out in about a month
Oh,
or or maybe a little bit more. And I couldn't decide between MTV or MTV2, so I put them both on. And then
Awesome.
if this is where you're at, send the damn thing in. If you're doubling up on tracks,
Mm.
I think I was just needing to let go. Um, yeah, and I still hear things that I would change for sure.
Sure. I'm a big Reprise fan. Like I'm a big fan of the Reprise when it's like not exactly the original, but feels like, a pop in, it's cool. And I think MTV2 is perfectly in that range for me. So
Wow, thanks.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. So it's good. I mean, the songs have such different emotional foundations. Okay, what hit you as like, ooh, this is heavy. This is a lot.
hit me as a lot. Sorry, let me get the track list up. I think for me, I'm gonna try to pronounce this right. Ep Epikwe?
Yeah, EPKWY.
How
Yeah.
do you how do you pronounce that, Yada?
EPKWY. It's Eastern Parkway.
Oh, Eastern Parkway. Oh, okay.
Yep, yep. EPK. Yeah, that's awesome. That is currently like I feel like I get connected to a new song like every once in a while. Like just listening to this album.
Hmm.
And maybe that has to do with like me coming to the song's emotional space. Um, but that has been hitting me hard the last few days. It just feels like a love song about resiliency.
Hmm. It feels like this month. What month are we in? December?
Yeah.
Ember.
It's a very like late autumn, early
Yep.
winter feeling for me.
I like that. Yeah. That's true. The the other one is Too Good is kind of a classically R&B beautiful thing.
That that one that one was hard for me to put out.
Okay. Okay.
I think, I part of me going into this was I wanted to be as be as earnest
Mhm.
towards myself as I could be. And that's one of the ones where I'm like, ooh, that's the edge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, this is you can feel the weight of this album trying to trust itself, you know? Trying to be like my voice can do this, I can express this feeling like because there's all these self-doubts we have around that, right? Of like is this too cheesy? Is this too revealing? Is this not my kind of thing? Should I not be doing this kind of thing?
Hmm.
So you can feel this album kind of scaling those walls. Um, Too Good is definitely a moment for that. Yeah. Um, this is another one, Kay. I don't know why I've been in this space recently, but my favorite run in the album is 10 to 14.
The ending, yeah.
Man, the end of this is just awesome.
Yeah.
It's just awesome. MTV to MTV2. Breach of Jealousy is one of my favorites.
Thank you.
It is because it might be the spookiest moment on the thing on Palm One. Just like I identified like Portishead. It gave me Portishead feelings.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's yeah. It was really cool. It was a really different vibe from anything else. Like really good. And then yeah, close with No Greater Love. It's awesome. Um, but that was my run. Did you have any runs, Kay, that you were really into?
I mean, the middle. I liked the middle from uh Eastern Parkway.
Yep.
I mean, to too good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that the whole middle.
Hmm.
Yep.
And I wanted to ask you, can you talk a little bit about the development of the album? Like, did you have you mentioned about world building? Did you have a clear idea of what you wanted to create going forward, or did the album just like organically come about?
Um, I knew I wanted to exercise my production capabilities.
Mhm.
I wanted to see what I could do um, with feelings that existed from demos that were on my phone. Um, and did it happen organically? I think because I spent so much of the time moving and traveling, I don't know if I could even tell if anything was unfurling. Because when you're like in motion, it's hard to know like
Mm.
it's like there's no control. So
Right.
so how can you know when one thing is just unfolding? But I do know that like any time that I really committed to working on something, a song, I put my whole self into it and showed up to it. And I think for a long time, the songs felt like there were some that were couplets, there were some that were singular, and then it was about how do I introduce them to each other and use sound design to weave things through. So did it happen organically? As much as it is possible to be organic with phones and AI
Mm.
and texting and planes.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. Um, there was a song in specific where I figured out what this album was trying to do. And I think it was honestly on the first list. that which is very rare. My first listens are very mid, but I I'm not great at it. I'm not. I wish I was better at sussing out classics immediately. But um, put your faith in God was the key on the map. That I was like, oh, I get this
Mm.
now. It really did teach me what the album was trying to do. Um,
I
yeah,
love, I love that song.
it's I'm not yeah, I'm not sure if people are coming up to you about put your faith in God, but uh, it really to me it was like you just very gently talking about how you needed to change and how you needed to change how you were treating yourself musically and the playing on the nature um of this opulent rebirth kind of dance music and contrasting that with the message of how you needed to change away from this. Um, and I was like, oh, it was a Deadpool moment of like, oh, okay, this this movie knows it's a movie. Like this is okay, that's
Yeah,
cool.
Mm.
like yeah, I guess I was working with Carlos Hernandez, who I used to manage slash do like program coordination for Silent Barn DIY space in New York.
Yep.
That's closed now, but he had a studio in the back. And so I came to him saying, this is all of the stuff I have. What is going on? So he helps me a lot. And I think that one specifically, he was like, we need Buzz, an amazing drummer. So brought the drummer, and then that made things make sense because it has this sort of like ecstatic, like fireworks, like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I feel like it does break the fourth wall, and I think because I we've known each other for so long, me talking over songs is almost like me talking to him or me talking to myself.
Yeah,
And I don't know that going into it, I would have wanted to do that, but it's just kind of what happened. And I think it does help with giving something to hold on to narrative wise.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, I value that, man. I think that was, and it's such a unique choice to trust that and go with that because it's not an interlude. You know what I mean? It's
Mm-hmm.
not uh, Big Body Bess yelling at people or anything. Um, so yeah, Kay, what did you think of "Put Your Faith in God" when you heard it?
Yeah, I think the for me the album it's a build up. And I think Put Your Faith in God, that's when it starts really settling in for me.
You know,
And it leads right to Eastern Parkway. So
yeah, yeah, it's a very well organized album.
Wow,
yeah.
really great to hear.
It's because it's hard, right? Like you know, when I was in being a creative person, when you go to see pop things, you see them in a different way, right? So like I'm sitting in Guardians for the first time in the movie theater, and I'm like grabbing my wife's shirt. I'm like this is fucking amazing. She's like, yeah, it's funny. I'm like, no, we've been to four planets already. Like, do you know how hard it is for
Yeah.
audiences to know what the fuck you're talking about? Do you know how many decades of crazy LSD writing that we have compressed into this? Like, this is brilliant.
Hmm.
And so there's a brilliance about that, about being able to take the chaos, as Kay said, and make it a journey. It's an incredibly well organized project. Did Carlos help you out? Was anybody else helping you with that, or were you just locked in a room, Sherlock Holmes
There
doing?
was order. There was order that was more linear.
Okay.
And then there was that moment that we talked about where I said, no, MTV's going to happen twice. And then I just moved every song around based on what felt right. And this
Mm.
are sitting with an order for maybe 6 months.
Mm.
And then I just was like, I don't care if it makes linear sense. It has to make sense. And I won't understand it for a while, but it's not my business. I'm just gonna go by gut.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a weird release once you put it out and you're just listening to it, you the project has its own character. It's grown its own character. And so you like I've been able to let go of the I should have moved that hair because it feels like its own thing
Yes.
and its flaws are adorable. You know what? I admit
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good way to put it. It's kind of like, well, that's my girl.
Right. I love her weird nose. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I love that. You
I,
know?
the pigtails are falling off, but whatever.
Yeah.
I can't, there's nothing I could say to myself now about it because I did what I needed to do, and I don't think I ever thought I would feel that way.
Yep. That makes sense. Yeah. It's
Mm.
yeah. What like Kate, where does this live with you in terms of unique listening experiences this year? Like, is this you've listened to a lot of music this year, doing this every week?
I, I mean, it's you know what it kind of reminds me of the feeling I had the same feeling when I listened to House of Balloons
Wow.
from the weekend.
Yep.
It almost felt like it's
Yep.
a lot of it like consciously like I'm picking up things, but I think this is one of those albums that works more on the subconscious. Like I'm gonna have to like sit with it for some time to really like kind of grasp it.
Yeah, that makes sense. House of Balloons tapped into a mood that some sort of primal mood that we didn't
Yeah,
know we were connected to. Um, yeah.
it was almost like I used the word like the word that came up was fever dream,
Uh,
but this album is not. When I actually Googled fever dream, this it's not a fever dream. But it's like one of those. I don't know how to describe it.
it's
It's
perfect. That's
yeah
great. Put that on the back of the vinyl. Uh,
yeah.
perfect.
I'm with you.
Yep. Yeah.
And I wanted to bring up another because you mentioned earlier in the interview you said so you were writing and you were writing about so you were writing about nature and then you were writing about music, but you said you also were writing about the favorite parts of some songs that you were listening to.
Yep. Yep.
What were some of those songs that really resonated with you during that time?
Oh, I mean, this was deep COVID.
Mm,
Okay.
Uh, and um, I listened to, I'm picturing this gym in my neighbor's house in LA that I used to go to and listen and work out and listen to music. And what I was listening to at the time was Ariana Grande. I think Positions came out.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I was listening to that all the time.
We love that with
Uh,
hair, right?
yeah, the my
It's
favorite song of that was Shut Up. You know that's on Positions, right?
yeah. I think.
yeah.
Wait, let me make sure. I believe so.
Like that song is lodged in my head. Um, I was listening to the Sufjan Stevens album that I don't know, it seems like people didn't really like it that much, but I loved it. The Ascension.
Which one was the one? I got into one of the ones that was like poor Sufjan Stevens, everyone dying.
No.
Oh, it was Javelin. Javelin is what I was like. Okay, I'm in on.
No, it was this strange electronic music that was, yeah. There's this one song called Make Me an Offer I Cannot Refuse, and it's basically him talking to the devil, and I'm obsessed with that. I thought that it's so good. I kept listening to Kelly Moran. She put out an album. No, 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 sorry. Kelly Lee Owens put out an
Oh,
album.
that's right. Gilly Owens. Yep, yep.
Um, so these were just albums that had sound design that really inspired me. Like with the Ariana positions, I just loved, I mean, I've always loved the way she stacks vocals and she's so precise about it. Um, with that Sufjan album, I just liked how he was able to balance abrasive electronic sounds with like smooth sounds.
Mm.
Mm. And then, I mean, the Kelly Lee Owens album was just a bop. I don't know. I was just like, oh, her voice. I think the way that she was able to place her voice in that album, because I think sometimes it can be hard to do with electronic music to allow the voice to feel like it has a space that's free and airy and open without it being like this is the female vocal on a David Guetta track, you
Right.
know?
It's almost like be free, airy, open vocals is like just naked and alone for the vocal.
To be able to have like really intricate and thoughtful sound design with a vocal that can feel alone is really inspiring to me.
Yeah.
And then I was listening to a lot of Kanye West, which is an affliction.
Yeah. K knows. K
Yeah,
knows.
I know.
It's
Yeah. Yeah. It's like yeah, and it's almost the difference. The naked vocals thing is almost the difference between it's like stand-up comedy and being in a sketch comedy group.
yeah,
Sure. The cluttering the track with cool stuff allows your vocals to be kind of protected.
exactly.
And when you're just you and the mic on stage, that's pretty raw stand-up comedy. So when you have that sparse stuff
Hmm.
and you pull it off, it's something.
Yeah,
Something.
and
Yeah.
I think having my vocals be the clearest that they could be was a big priority, even if maybe it didn't come out that way,
Mhm.
more so than Wahala. Um, yeah,
Yeah. The yeah, it's that brings up a good question of there's always especially in these underground hip hop spaces there's lots of arguments about dirty sounds versus clean sounds, right? The anti-dirty sound people are basically saying, look, the reason why your sounds are dirty is because they're not polished because you haven't spent time with them and they're a rough draft. So like you're really proud of your rough draft.
right.
But if you went back and cleaned it up, it would be better. Uh, and the people that are making dirty music feel like they're experimenting and that is important. So, like that contrast with Wahala, you get that from Wahala to Palm Wine. The dirty versus clean sounds. What did you learn through the whole of this experience?
I love clean sounds. I really like when a sound is well articulated because it gives structure for when the choice to be raw and nasty can shine and do what it needs to do. And that's where I am right now. I know it's a pendulum that will swing, but um that's just what excites me right now. Um really like sitting with the sound and shaping it to exactly what you hear in your head. But my favorite music marries both, but leans a little towards the polished side, but marries both.
And there's you said I think you did you discover that there's way more like room to experiment in clean sound than people would have thought or
Well, I think it's just like allowing yourself to be open to both. Then there's more of a palette.
yeah.
Because maybe it's just that the clean sound people are jealous of the dirty sound people, and the dirty sound people are jealous of the clean sound people.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Everyone's jealous of everyone. Yeah.
The
Yeah,
grass is
I
greener.
would-
The
because
grass
it's
is
like
greener. This is
it's
great.
like
Yeah.
am I dirty because it's expensive to make a sound clean? Yeah,
Yeah.
sound is clean because I'm too scared to be dirty. So it's like
Yeah.
there's something on each side, and ideally you like I think the ideal position is to be able to at any given moment ask the song what does it want and give it without having your ego in the mix. Like I had to think a lot. I had to like because I think I would oscillate between thinking about what former people in my life would think about the music. I had to like consciously be like, that's not your business. Um, and yeah, just allowing for the song to dictate what it needs without you deciding because you want to be a certain way.
Mm. Yep. Yeah. No, that's Jules, Kay. Jules, get that appraised.
Oh,
That was hard. Kay, do you have more stuff, or do you want to go?
no,
We gotta leave it. We gotta leave it there with the Jewel.
absolutely.
Recommendation corner. We talk about what we've been listening to, what we've been bumping, and it's been strange for me. It's
Here, I mean, I love music nerds. It's like the best. It's so cool to
it
be
is
nerdy about the way that people express themselves through sound and it never ends. That's so cool.
yep. Agreed.
It
Now,
never ends.
I got a brief, weird, comical rant here before I get into my thing, Kay. Just let me have this. With sometimes, like I grew up on gangster rap, right? Goon rap, shoot you in the face stuff. It I've listened to it so long it relaxes me, and I know that's not good. I'm doing the right. I'm doing
Like those people who like watch serial killers
right,
documentary.
right. It's
That's it.
but what will happen is I'll be listening to a New York goon rapper. So like the difference between a goon rapper, like you listen to Jay-Z, he was talking about like the logistics of the empire, right? These guys are like smashing you in the face directly, right? So you listen to that stuff, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, oh, that was not a homophobic slur, but an inference certainly. And then like the next song, they're like hardcore God stuff, and then the next song, it's like abortion should be a crime, and I'm like, this guy's kind of a Christian conservative goon rapper. Like that's kind of a thing, you know?
Who are you talking about?
I mean there's a number of them. I'm not afraid to give, and by the way, I think it makes the album a little more interesting to me. Like
No, I mean, I think it's so interesting that music can be so good that it makes you have to listen to people's whack opinions. Like, I think that's amazing. Where
Yep.
can you be like, I just seduced you into listening to my fucked up thoughts?
Right, right. It's
It's the
so
Kanye fan in the talking.
yeah,
Yeah.
that is
Uh,
that is fair. So Lavish Language is the album that got this thought going. It's by Josiah the Gift, who has another album that's really dope. He did it with SB11 that was about the birth of his child. That is the most hardcore album about the birth of your child I could ever imagine. He still raps it in the goon rap cadence to the hard beats. It's awesome. You know, but like that kind of voice being like, I'm in the hospital, you know, like it was great. But so, what I've really been exploring is Big Just. There's been a lot of Big Just this week from Company Flow, specifically Nephilim modulation systems with Orko Elohim. Um, and it was like this stuff is from like '04, '03. '03, March '03. There's the one I'm looking at. Woe to thee, O land, whose man, their title's so long. But yeah, there's two albums. They were made within like I think 12 months of each other. Um, and just hardcore political stuff, jagged flow that doesn't like that's just always kind of feels like someone's cheating. Like it's a when you I had a friend in math class who never did the math the way the teacher wanted, but always got the right answer. And he was just like laughing at the teacher the whole time. That's Big Justice Flow. So there was there was that. But I also Bandcamp Friday, or no, it was Black Friday. Sorry, Stax Records had a Bandcamp sale. I grabbed Only for the Lonely, Mavis Staples album. Been rocking a bunch of that. Um, God, Mavis Staples is great. What's going on? And by the way, Mavis Staples goes really well with palm wine. Um, oh, Nappy Roots released the Brew Day EP 1, which was really dope. Those are my three. I'll do that. What do you Yatta? What are you rocking with?
Skip.
All
You know,
right.
I'm only getting back into listening to music and I'm really excited.
That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's lots of stuff out there. I've also been reviewing some of the best albums of the year, and it's been really cool to see which ones I've appreciated and depreciated over time in
Mhm.
my ears. So, what are you rocking with, Kay? What do you listen to?
I actually have recommendations this week.
Beautiful.
It's funny because you mentioned Ariana Grande. Movie wise, I saw Wicked, and I enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
Okay.
Oh,
Uh, so I recommend Wicked, and then music wise, on Black Friday we have a local record store here called Bull Moose.
Yep. Yep.
I went and I picked up the greatest hits of SWV.
Oh wow.
hmm.
So I've been listening to that all week, and then I've kind of been on a I'm fascinated by K-pop.
Okay.
Oh,
So there's this singer called Hoodie, Hoody,
Yep.
uh, who's just fast. She does like K-pop R&B, and it's some of the best like R&B I've heard. Period. In like the
wow.
last couple of years, yeah. And so she has a project called Departure that I've been listening to. So yeah. What are your thoughts on K-pop, Yada?
I haven't spent enough time with it, but I do find it really interesting when I hear like an Afrobeat K-pop song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like so glitched out and it's so interesting. Uh, I mean, it's just like our world is so something. But no, I haven't listened enough. I have friends who are BTS Army. That's now old school, but I don't know. I don't know much about it.
It's fascinating to me. I mean, because it's obvious what they're influenced by, but what they take it and they kind of run with it, in a way that's very interesting to me.
Yeah. It creates its own thing.
Yeah.
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 Very
No, it's I mean I wasn't thinking about it one way or another, but one of my bosses was heavy into uh the K-pop stuff,
Yeah.
and so it was I started listening to this band at ATEEZ.
ATEEZ. Okay.
Ease, I think it was the World EP Volume 1. And I was like, ah, man, this shit goes, man. This shit is good. Like, I roll with this. Like, um, you can't deny it, man. Um, the flavor's there, you know. Um, the weird part is, Kay, when I was in the army, and I was in Korea, South Korea, I would we would take taxis everywhere, and the taxi drivers didn't give a fuck. They would go as fast as they wanted to or as you wanted them to. So if the drunk American was in the back, like go faster, they'd be like, no problem. And they would just keep and I and I don't like going faster, and I was never as drunk as the other people who wanted to go faster. So I was always white knuckling next to them. But then on the radio would be K-pop.
Mm.
This was 2000.
where does K-pop hit you emotionally?
Hit me.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I haven't listened to much, but for some reason it's always in my head. Like it doesn't really like I don't know.
But for me,
Fascinating. When you say hit you emotionally, what does that mean? Because that's an interesting way to phrase something.
It could be just because I don't understand it, but
Right.
anytime I've listened to K-pop, I'm just in my head. I'm not like, oh my God,
Oh,
moved. But that's like it's a huge genre, so I'm totally generalizing.
I think for me where it resonates is it's fun in a way that, and Dan and I talk about R&B in terms of American R&B. It's kind of lost its funness,
Totally.
and the K-pop it reminds me a lot of 90s R&B, and that's kind of where they've pulled from
Yep.
in terms of the people making the music, and it's like 90s R&B but like really polished.
Right.
Yep.
That's so real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like pre-identity politics R&B.
Oh, pre-identity.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's like as a kid you would run into these sugary candies that were so sugary that didn't understand why they were legal. You were like, how is this thing that people can just digest? So like when I kept falling asleep in math class, I would keep a pack of Smarties with me. And I would pop a Smartie.
That works.
Honestly, I would rub Smarties on my gums. Like
No.
it got weird, you know. But it worked, and I got through math class, and I got an okay grade. So
That's the perfect way to describe K-pop. Yeah.
K-pop is hits me emotionally like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need a Smartie to stay awake, you know.
Okay, if I were to start somewhere, according to you, with K-pop, where would it be?
For me, I'm not the only two I'm really familiar with is Hoodie,
Okay.
and then there's like this other one. There's this other. He's not a rapper. This I guess K-pop star. His name is Zico, Zico, and he had this song called Any Song.
Okay. I'll look that
And
up.
it's just like a blend of like in one. It's a blend of genres. Like there's some R&B, there's pop, there's even like a salsa section
Wow.
in
Yeah.
this one K-pop song.
Anything can happen in a K-pop song. For
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Hey, I would go the World EP1 colon movement.
Okay, I got to check that one out.
ATEEZ. It's 7 songs. It's just a 22 minutes punch in the face. It's awesome.
Cool.
2022 is when it came out. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's fascinating because I like when I think about it, it's like they learned from us in terms of Western music.
Yeah.
They learned from Western music, and I think Western music could relearn from them.
I think
And
that's
it's like the evolution of music. Like we're just learning from each other and in constant conversation with other genres. So
I think
happens a lot. Happens a lot. Like remember, like westerns to spaghetti westerns back to
yeah,
spaghetti westerns influencing regular westerns, and
yeah.
yeah, it happens all the time.
Huh. I wonder what K-pop R&B coming back here would sound like.
Wow.
I guess maybe we'll see.
yeah.
Like someone that would have become the next Charles Hamilton, but becomes K-pop. What an incredible situation that would be.
And you're right. And in terms of evolution, it's going to come back.
Yeah.
And that's what
Oh, Anthony Hamilton. I meant Anthony Hamilton. Sorry.
Anthony Hamilton. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's music's in an incredible place at this
Oh
point.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we have way more genius level talented people than we give credit to.
Mm-hmm.
That we'll look back on and go, wow. Like so, but that's my thought. I don't think genius is overused. I think it's just misused.
Wow. Love that.
Yep. But
Uh,
yeah. What else you got?
well, I'm just curious what you guys think of McGee.
Oh, McGee. I did try the McGee. I didn't connect with me. I didn't understand it. I made it generational because that's what I do.
No, I think it is. That's why I asked. I just think it's interesting.
And I think for me, I listened to it. It was like the kids like to be this sad now.
Right.
Like,
Oh,
they
you
like
oh, I mean, now that I think about it, now that I'm comfortable with you guys, I I really love Sabrina Carpenter's album.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
I love I don't know if I would say the whole album, but some tracks like uh there's stuff going around about how Bedchem is like a black lined like barbecue song if you slow it down, and it's amazing.
That's awesome.
So I loved that. I loved her this year.
Yep.
But
Yep.
anyway,
Yeah. No, there's lots of cool stuff, and yeah, it's interesting to watch. It was wild to watch the Brat thing happen, um, and get so wild, get so blown up. Um, it's I'm a hardcore Charlie XCX fan, and I don't think this is her best album or anything, um, but it just hit for people at the right
Oh, yeah.
time with the right thing, and this is what's going to be thought of as her deal. It's weird, but yeah. So we'll do more year end stuff, Kay. We'll
Mm-hmm.
talk about all this situation. But thank you.
thank you so much. It's nice to meet you both.
Yes, you as well. Great conversation.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I can't wait to listen to you guys more.
We're and people are listening to us more, Kay. Our Spotify rap numbers sound like I made them up in terms of the
Fascinating.
increases, which is cool. But I was like, I was here last year. What's going on? I was like, you look beautiful today. What happened yesterday? Anyway. But no, it's great. We're in a great position. We've got, people listening to us in lots of different countries, lots of different demographics. And I bring on people here. We bring on people that like people might not know, or people might know and have not, it's not their specific wheelhouse. We're building an audience that trusts us enough to listen and then check it out. And that's the dream. That was always the dream.
That's awesome.
Trust us,
Yeah.
and we'll take you there. So, yeah.
Good.
Thank you. Wish you continued success.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
100%.
thoughtful questions.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. State of the game. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. And yeah, I'm wearing new shoes.
What will tomorrow bring?